First of all, if you want to talk about the trust with the police and black people, there's never been trust. All right, so that's number one. Number two is that if you look at the numbers, 75% of murders go unsolved. So obviously they're not doing their job, and they haven't been doing their job in years. But hopefully Superintendent Eddie Johnson can do something about the police culture. But if we're talking about violence, police isn't the answer. You could put 100,000 police officers on the street that will not reduce violence in the city of Chicago because police are only there to react. They're only there to react. You have to put money into prevention. And right now, nobody has really said it, but his name is Rahm Emanuel. And this mayor that we have in the city of Chicago does not care about black people. And I'm going to put that on the record. When you can invest $100 million into DePaul basketball arena when they can practice at the United Center for free, and $16.4 million into Uptown to build upscale apartments, when you can build these new bus stops we got now downtown, but walk in our neighborhoods and not $1 million is coming. When we walking past boarded up schools, boarded up houses, they knock it down with red X's with no plan to redevelop. Mental health facilities shut down. The unemployment rate is the highest in Chicago than it is around the country. When you want to talk about violence, you got to talk about the economics, not police.
Panic emojis when it's not right. Conservative on the truth, the elephant in the room. What a Republican do when the citizens love fake news. You getting captured before the capture. Robotic even when you know the answers. Sad sight you think you're...
So we can start off. If everybody just wants, Dennis, if you want to start off, just everybody introduce themselves and we can get into it. You know, we're just gonna start it off with if you have any political side, like I said, you can just get that out the way and we can just start from there.
Yeah, man. My name's Dennis Amadeus. Most of y'all actually knew me as Dennis Lemmerman, though, back in the day, or D-Rod if you played basketball. There's a poet in Tampa who goes by D-Rod, and his first name is Dennis. But yeah, man. Outside of that, my political affiliation is to the people at the most as I can, and then second to those who are around me and I influence and can touch. So that's the best way I could put it. I don't think I align to one specific political view all the time.
Preach.
That's the way to do it.
Whoever want to take the floor next.
I'm Steve. I'm a little bit younger than probably everyone here. Definitely younger than Justin, though. That's for sure.
Oh damn! Shots fired.
Hit me with the old guy shit.
Yeah. Listen, you've been old since I was young, so
this is true.
I'm mostly center right, but I'm registered independent. My biggest thing right now is just the misinformation campaigns on from every side. I just try to target that misinformation and correct it and try and explain to people like, not everything that they're giving us is accurate. You know what I mean? Whether it's COVID, politically, anything. I'm an EMT. I've been dealing with this COVID shit since it started. So, I've seen everything really. So,
Salute to you. Salute to you on that.
Salute to you on the front lines.
Yep. Yes, sir. Who got next?
All right, I'll go. I'm Angelo. Some of you guys know me, some don't. Obviously, I'm weird, I like.
We all weird.
Yeah,
we're all weird.
Yeah, but I would say I'm more like Dennis said. I'm for the people. Whatever seems right should be right, and everything. You got to keep the peace and see what the fuck all this shit's about, man. Like, this shit got to stop. It's genocide before our eyes, and I don't like it, man. I don't like it. But, yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself, bro. Couldn't have said it better myself. To the only queen in the chat room, floor is yours.
All right, I'm Heaven. I know pretty much everyone in here. Politically, I've been an anarchist since I learned what the word meant, but I am a registered Republican, but that's only because my ex actually worked for Trump.
Okay.
Notice how she said X, everybody.
What?
So notice how you said X.
I wasn't giving up my chance to go to an inaugural ball.
There you go.
Can't blame that. Can't blame that.
I'm
And
not mad at you.
Once in a lifetime.
I'm just gonna get off the top. I'm a proud Trump supporter, and I've been fuck out of here.
Ooh, who is that? Where is
Yeah.
that coming from?
I was just joking. Nah, honestly, I'll be honest. Quite frank, I've never voted before in my life. I do want to this year. Honestly, I do, but I just want to surround myself with the right information first. Like first and
There you go.
foremost.
Okay.
Oh, I guess I'll go last. I'm Justin. What up, y'all? Y'all may know me as Thought.
Hi,
really like-
Justin.
What up, y'all? Wow. I teeter between not giving a fuck and being an anarchist. So, I voted for Jill Stein, and I've been like working with the Green Party when everybody voted for Obama. I voted for Cynthia McKinney in 08. And I'm just for, like I said, like since I'm like a Fred Hampton disciple, I'm for the people and work for the people in the people's best interests. And so I don't know, these two candidates really represent the worst of what America has to offer to me.
Yeah, for
So
for sure.
That's to
So,
everybody, bro. No one in
yeah.
here is in the 1%, so it's to everybody.
So, as far as political affiliation, I guess I'm just me. That's as best as I can explain it.
All right, so I mean, to piggyback off what you just said, Jay, these two political candidates couldn't be even shittier. So should I vote for Kanye?
Oh my god!
No, Vermin
I
Supreme.
mean-
Vote for Vermin Supreme.
I mean, there is the third party candidate. I don't know if you want to vote for her, but
Joe Jorgensen.
Yeah,
yes,
I don't even know who.
That's the
I don't know.
independent.
Either.
Okay.
I think we have to for the boot collectively.
Yeah.
We all need a boot.
Every elected official and appointed official gets the fucking boot.
Yeah.
Everybody who's on corporate welfare gets the fucking boot. We need to like literally go through all of these. We have so many laws that the accounting office of our own government couldn't count the number of laws we have in 4 years. They were still counting.
Wow.
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 And see, like we're all right on this. The power is with the people. Like you think about the people you know in your life and the people you talk to. Nobody's okay with like any of the shit that's going on.
Yeah.
No one.
That's the alarming part.
No one.
But what does it take to change that? Is voting going to change that, or
I
is
don't
it
think so.
something different?
I think
Is there
it's gotta
something-
go. Oh, sorry, Angelo. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. No, but I'm just wondering, like, what's really going to change it? Is voting going to change the system that we have in place, or is this going to continue until they all die and then their kids pick up the reins or whatever? You know?
That's it. You said
Yeah,
it in a
lifetime
nutshell.
politicians.
Yeah, it's just like
Said
they
it in
get
a nutshell. Generational politics. That's what that is.
That's
nepotism.
that's my whole thing.
Nepotism, right?
I'm
It's just
tired
crazy.
I'm tired of that whole rhetoric of go out, vote, go vote. And it's just like, what if I don't agree with the systems in place? Like, what am I
Yeah.
voting on? Like,
Or
What is
whatever.
my other recourse?
Yeah.
You gotta
Exactly.
pick the person that agrees with the most shit, not all of the shit that you believe in.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
crazy thing.
But then you
That
get
would be Vermin Supreme for me.
Yeah, I think you get two candidates like Biden and Trump, and you just wonder, like, what's really in the best interest of everybody, you know? Because it's all hard. Biden's a hard sell. Like, the dude's a weirdo. He's fucking sniffing little girls' hair.
yeah.
The guy
Oh my
has
Lord.
passed policies against, like, communities, like ghettos and shit. The guy's not a good fucking dude. He flip-flops, bro. He was against gay marriage after Obama was for it. Like, come on. It was like 2009. This
Now,
guy's still...
You think that's the reason why Homeboy didn't endorse him yet?
Who? Obama?
Yeah.
Didn't Obama endorse him? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
Obama endorsed him hard
probably
in
a
the
lot.
DNC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the DNC, and then before the DNC started. My thing with Biden is the 1994 crime bill, the mandatory minimums that he pushed,
Right.
the three strikes laws he pushed. He basically he basically is along with Hillary Clinton as typecasting young black men as super predators. So I definitely have remnants of him like being like the symbol of Giuliani and why. If anybody lived in New York City
Was that
while Giuliani was running, you have no idea what the hell you were in for. So to me, he represents that, and that by far to me, what I saw in NYC during the Giuliani years
that was just
is
stopping
far
and frisk
worse.
shit, right? That was stopping
That
and
was
frisk.
that was before Stop and Frisk.
That was before stopping
That
and
was
frisk.
we're talking like 9, 6, 9, 7, 9, 8
Oh, okay.
when police used to have this policy called broken windows, where they would kick people off the streets, beat up the poor, and make people work for their welfare. But then they have no shelters to live at. But then they would beat their ass for sleeping on trains and in train stations. So Biden, for me, represents that New York, and that shit is horrific, and I never want to see that go back.
And I mean,
Mhm.
Kamala ain't no much better. She ain't much better.
Oh,
Like with the shit
Former
she was doing, like
prosecutor.
Yeah.
that much
She's a
I do know.
prosecutor, so
Yeah.
shit.
Prosecutor that smoked weed and prosecuted people for weed, like
Yeah.
But
that's crazy.
wasn't she also like suppressing like DNA evidence to help people get out of their
Oh, every
situations?
prosecutor is doing that.
It's just
Every
like-
lawyer, everyone is all
Right,
doing
Yeah,
that.
you got a point. You got a point.
I'm for real. If it's your friend, guess what, bro? You're beating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Shit, how many times have you seen that? Countless.
Yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately,
If there
too
wasn't
many.
social outcry for that abandoned kid in Port Jervis, the girl who left her baby to freeze, if there wasn't social outcry, that's a cop's daughter. She's not getting arrested.
Mm.
Everybody on that page was bugging out when they heard that news.
Shit. Yeah, that's just
Mhm.
I'm not familiar with that. What happened?
A girl had a baby. It was preterm, but it was alive. It was in the middle of February or January. She left it outside to freeze to death rather than like dropping it off at like a fire station or a church, someone who could take it in, or even the hospital. So the baby died, and it was a port cop's daughter, from what I have read.
Dang, I didn't hear that part.
Wow.
Mm.
So I don't know. Shit's crazy.
Go ahead, Dennis. You can go ahead.
God.
No, I want to take a let. I mean, I don't know, man. I have such a bad taste in my mouth for Port Jervis. When even the mayor, I know for the fact, that the mayor, when he was a cop,
Oh my God.
man,
Preach.
when I saw that he was a mayor, I literally felt sad in my chest. I was
Yeah.
literally,
Mhm.
oh, that's so sad. I'm so sorry that he's the mayor of that town now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Things like that. I think, and that just kind of ties into so much, man. I think, with the political system, it's like I used to be real anti-voting. I'm not a citizen of America, so I can't vote. I never have been able to vote, and so I've always had this outside view of it. And I think what happens is there's a clear propaganda thing where people, there's a clear something where they're like, all right, we're going to now split people apart intentionally. Because you can literally feel it. Like nobody's giving a shit until like a specific time, it feels like. Now with Trump, it's been a little bit more out there because he's been in office. But I feel like you can almost feel like they're like, somebody, and it sounds conspiracy theorists, but they're like, this is what we're doing, we're splitting the country. And so I think with politics, it's like you have to really focus on the local ones, the ones that you know personally, the ones that you can hold accountable right in front of
I
your
was
face.
just about to ask that too.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes we forget, we really forget, especially in the internet age, that our politicians in our cities, we can talk to directly face to face real easily.
Right.
Yeah.
I think being involved in local government is very important. Knowing who your alderman and going, being either involved or to abreast to those city council meetings, knowing who your alderman is, knowing who your representatives are for that state, you know what I'm saying, for that zone of where you live at. I think that's very important. I think when we get into national politics and just geopolitics in general, there's so many variables that we have to consider. First, you have to consider you know, who you are and what money you do not have to affect the system. If any, is anybody here familiar with Claude Anderson by any chance?
I never heard.
Uh,
Not ringing the
Um,
bell.
Is that a female,
Um,
male?
Male, he talked about like powernomics and how
That's the old,
like
is that the dude, the bald dude with the glasses?
yeah, black ball dude with the glasses, right?
Out of all the things I've seen come out of the movement, that was the most, I think, that was the one. If I had to choose one way to every,
Yes, yes.
you know what I'm saying?
It was basically like reverse it was basically like reverse lobbying, like being a conscious lobbyist. We're basically, we know that politics, we know that, you know, that sometimes it's better either to be in the room or know people in the room. And when I use that euphemism, in the room, I mean like having a direct ear as to what is going on in that room. So what affects politics? Politics is basically money. That's what it is. And he was talking about building some type of economic base. You cannot forge a political campaign without politics. Without money. You can't. So his baseline was just basically building an economic structure to where you can be in those rooms. What I'll say is my uncle was in the hospital this weekend over stomach pains and everything else. But my cousin was allowed in the hospital. A lot of people aren't. And the reason she was allowed in the hospital was because my uncle is on the board for that hospital.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
He's in the room. You know what I'm saying? So I think being in the room and getting us to a stage where we can get in the room is more important. Like Heaven talked about, I'm not gonna miss out on going to these presidential events. You may not like to do, but it helps to be in the room because then you can hear what's being planned, who's planning what, and how these talks go on. I think we severely undervalue that.
Yeah, I think too many people get attached personally and then just
Mhm.
automatically just box everything out.
Anything that's doesn't fit me is out the window. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
That emotional trigger.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not even like their own emotions. It's like trained thought processes. Like it's like their brain is literally programmed to work that way and just be emotional and shut down anything that doesn't fit.
But when you hear the same story 100 times, you know what I
And it
mean?
becomes
On every
true.
channel you put on there, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? You turn
So-
onto the same channel. That's all it is.
So do you guys all feel like especially this time of days with all, like Steve said in the beginning, all the misinformation being spread out,
There's a lot of
all just like the personal pressure, especially from like popularity and like what's the cool way to think, like you guys feel like that has something to do with the trend of which way the country's going lately?
Oh my God, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
easy is ignorance. It's easy to be ignorant to these things. You can't form an emotional component to it. Like, you know, I don't know anything about that. So why should I speak on it versus going out and getting educated on the matter?
yeah.
And now you can find groups that'll support your ignorance.
Yes.
That's a big thing. Yeah.
Support your misinformation. Now you got a whole clan of a cult of idiots. I mean, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's hard.
That's real. That's real. That's
People
real.
reading the same
They're like
shit.
ripping each other off for the wrong information. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
Yeah. Like,
That's what is that called? Like cognitive bias. Like they just they want things that confirm their beliefs.
Yep.
yeah.
Cognitive dissonance.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
cut you off.
cognitive
I
dissonance.
apologize for that, by the way.
No,
Yeah.
it's- But if you like, the algorithms work against people too, just like your thought process. Like if you think, or if you're searching up certain shit in a certain way, you're gonna get the information that you look for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, like when things come out, like Jacob Blake got shot in the back and people pull up his criminal records. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that?
As if
Like, is it
that
right or not for
justifies-
cops to turn Judge Dredd and start shooting people? Like,
Yeah.
and predominantly black people is killing fucking communities. And out of what? Fear? They're scared.
And that, I feel like that is
Are they
furthering the
scared?
divide between
It is.
Yeah.
everybody.
Definitely. But it's
Yeah.
also an attempt to discredit Jacob as to justify the cops' actions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think at its core, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you right now, like, I know people who move real shit. Justin
Yeah.
will tell you too. You know, move really crazy. And if this shit happened to them, there wouldn't be anywhere near the amount of backlash. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you watch all these videos of white people wrestling with cops or getting in and out of their car or fussling around and shit for people that, you know, that are black or Hispanic or any minority group. They get shot over, and it's like, that ain't right to me, you know. And I grew up in a cop household,
Yeah.
you know, so it's like first-hand experience to both sides, really.
So
And
what
it
is?
seemed.
Go ahead, Jay. Go
Oh my
ahead,
bad.
Jaleel.
I was gonna say it seems like it's trained into them. Like
Mhm.
they seek and they do and they have this certain notion about people. I don't know. It's like it's definitely racism because what else is it?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck else is it?
So what's everybody's views on this defund the police and on everybody's interpretation of it?
Oh, I definitely think like they should cut back, man. You don't need fucking 10 patrol cars in a population less than 8,000. You don't need fucking 100 like thousands of cops inside of New York City. You don't need that. Like
Yeah.
it's way too much. It puts pressure on them to meet a quota, and they're out searching for people to pop. Like
Yeah, because I think that there's a misconception, and maybe I could be wrong. I think there's a misconception when people hear the phrase defund the police that they mean eradicate police in
Yeah.
totality.
no. Yeah. My understanding is it's just cutting them back, like reducing the funding for the police.
Put resources throughout the community.
Yeah, spread resources to the community.
Yeah, spread that out over your community. I try to take the emotionalism out of it when it comes to my encounters with police and police in general. But what I will say is that you did see an uptick of militarized police after 9/11. The budget increased for policing under the guise of a terror attack. And you started seeing police officers getting new Dodge Charger engines every year, especially these subsidies for these small towns.
Look at Port
You know,
Port Jervis.
yeah, exactly. looking like fake ass boss hogs and shit. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely saw an uptick in the militarization of it. You also saw a lot of people coming back from the Iraq War with PTSD joining these police forces. I also saw a lot of people personally that got bullied, that went into the police force, that got bullied by black people in school, that went out to get a job to intentionally antagonize black people. I've seen it. And I've seen it in a small town, and who's to say it has not happened in other towns across anywhere USA. The problem with giving the police officers a military budget is they get carte blanche with law, meaning qualified immunity. So now they just have the weaponry to match their impunity, right? The thing about defunding the police is that taking their budget would be great, but as I've always stated, a revolution starts in the mind. So you really have to start mentally screening some of these motherfuckers and seeing what the hell their background is.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
see, and I think just straight defunding them without making any other changes is just going to make them more frustrated. I think they need to not be able to feel so confident that they're able to do whatever they want. Like, have some kind of review, like the citizens review, where, once you get like 25 negative, like, hey, this guy's aggressive and he's just a dick for no reason, like, you lose your badge.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, solution is always going to be power to the people, let the people actually speak on what's going on.
Yeah. I think that that's big too, because it comes to the point where they have all these like internal affairs investigations. Like you got people investigating themselves, so it's just like I don't get it. And when it comes to a certain, it just makes no sense to me.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah, Dennis.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, I think Justin hit on a really good point about qualified immunity. I think that's part of where the problem lies is not only are the police not held accountable by the people, but they're not even held accountable by their own system, by their own justice system. And so it makes it really hard, you know, to even hold, like I said, yeah, it just makes it hard to hold them accountable. And when you have that's where the distrust comes in. That's where the problem comes in with the community, because the community is the ones who are always victims of police brutality at the end of the day. Police are never victim of any kind of brutality, you know what I mean? Adverse, you know, maybe there's civilian violence, but there's no higher authority like pressuring down and having the ability to take your freedom and take, you know, your life and livelihood, things like that. So
They are the higher power that decides that.
right.
Really.
And so there has to be a balance of accountability. I think with defunding the police, that's part of that. Is like I think agreed. There's no reason to arm. You know, there's no reason to arm any human being like that against their own civilians. Like it's just gonna develop a military mentality already. That the flat jackets and ARs and some of the stuff that they walk around with, and it's also a clearly intimidation tactic because they only walk around with the big heavy gear in specific neighborhoods. You know what I mean? And things like that. So it's just I'm getting a little long-winded, but I think there's an end goal of we're defunding the police. When the more radical people you hear are like, nah, we want them gone. That's where the end goal is, not to just take away our source of societal protection, but to create programming and create a culture where self-policing is possible, where we don't need an outside force to come in and who isn't related to anybody in the neighborhood making decisions that affect everyone.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, do they really? What are they protecting? They're not in the business of crime prevention. If you really want to be real about it, they're always reactionary.
But it's I think part of it is the war on drugs still, because the war on drugs allows them into these neighborhoods. They're pursuing people for small time crimes and cocaine. You're like, let people do cocaine, let people do crack, smoke weed, do whatever the fuck you want to do. Just don't hurt anybody.
People may take that as what you're saying as like a hyperbole, but I
totally
agree.
I
totally agree.
I don't think you can police people against themselves. If we're a sovereign nation, you should be a sovereign individual and be able to make those decisions, you know? So I think self-policing is a good idea. Like, obviously, if the shit's not affecting the neighborhood, it shouldn't be a problem, you know, as long as it's not violent.
And there are studies that suggest that, you know, if you legalize drugs today, the urge to take them would plummet. Because a part of that high is knowing it's illegal. Part of that rush, is obtaining the drug. And I've known people who've smoked and everything. By the time you get it, it's just like, all right, the internal high is fucking good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's like we did all that to get that, and now it's trash. Now I don't even.
You're hiding out somewhere in the woods in the car, smoking some weed.
So to piggyback, so what we're all saying, we all basically have the same consensus opinion, but now to go back to the political side of it, which side is more in favor of that though?
I would say as long as,
if any,
as long as there is an older white rich man at the head of the party, they're going to make decisions for old white rich men.
Yes, representation is key.
It don't matter who it is, what party, one way or another, it's going to benefit them, and that's how I look at it. And realistically, even, you know, and people say we need more women in government, but it's like, I think as individuals we mostly think for ourselves first.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lack of representation, especially at the higher ends of politics, you know, and I think it affects everything.
So should there be a limit on, I mean, there's a limit on for presidential terms. Should there be a limit across the board in Congress.
So
I think
absolutely.
Come on, man.
Like
You
once
can't
you're
take-
60, you can't be a politician no more. Like that's how it should stop. Like there should be a cap at the top. You know.
Yeah.
But like,
You have a contract.
Yeah.
you have someone who was in politics when they established Jim Crow, and they're still serving today. You don't think that bleeds over 40 years down the line?
I mean, you're absolutely right.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I was for Jim Crow. Well, what are you for now? You know what I mean? It's like
I changed my ways.
completely. I found God, as a lot of them would
Yeah.
say.
But then their actions don't match their words, you know.
No, definitely not.
It's crazy.
Yeah, just hearing all this gets me even more depressed and not want to vote at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. It's the local thing, man. Look, like,
Yeah.
so I don't want to like harp on it, but like, there's a lot that we all have the power to do right where we are, man. And a lot of the healing that we're looking for, it comes in the direct communication with the people around us, always, you know. And like, part of this problem with Facebook and the online social media is it creates its own separate bubble, our own like bubble of what the world looks like in this very tight window. And it's such a fallacy because the world is way bigger than that. Even if you got a lot of friends on the social media, it's still way bigger than that. It's way bigger than opinions, the algorithms and shit like that. And you'll find like most people don't want violence. Most people don't want, you know what I'm saying? And with the pandemic, there's a lot of fear going on. So of course the politicians, people in power are going to stroke that fear more and more and more, you know? And so it's really on us to have to rely on each other, hold the local politicians accountable, pay attention to what's going on in your city. And, you know what I mean? There's a lot of names that aren't hashtag that have been lost in horrible ways to the state.
That's true.
You know what I mean? I can name a lot just in the city of Tampa alone, but you know, and so that's really where it is. And I don't think I think voting has something, it's a thing to do, you know what I'm saying? I don't think it's all the thing to do. I don't think it's the only thing to do. So yeah, if I could I just want to, you know, there's just a lot of opportunities for us to be out there and just connect with each other, man, and bring good in the world, and, you know, live out your actions rather than posting about them and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So for me, I can only speak for me personally. To get a foot in the door, as not to say like to run for politics or anything, but just to get like local government and shit. What would be those steps for anybody that's going to see this to get involved?
Boys and girls clubs, volunteering, you know what I mean? Your volunteer services, how much do you run into volunteer firemen? I don't know about Tampa, but up by us, you know, most of our community services are all volunteer. The rec center in Port Jervis, become a chaperone there, oversee things. You really got to touch the youth, because, you know, you look at it, our lives are a third of the way over already. I mean, I'm 25. Average American life is 75. I mean, I still have a lot of impact, but, you know, I've been a rec coach. I've been a Pop Warner coach. Like, all these kids still call me coach, and it's like, maybe I'm the only stability they get during the day, so let me get my impact off. You know what I mean? Come to me. Like, I'm your coach first, I'm your friend second, but if you came to me and said, you know, coach, you know, I got something going on, or, you know, even as an EMT, I see shit all the time. People overdose. I'm like, yo, get you into program. Like, you talk about all this stuff, wanting to get help. Like, let's get you in the program. Let's get you out of this cycle. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can do a lot. And a lot of it's volunteer based.
Yeah, and reading, a lot of reading probably it comes with that. I know people don't like that, but that's, you know, that's where they hide. The truth.
That's where they hide. That's where they hide.
In the newspapers, you know, you got to really look up these motherfuckers' stats, like you're looking up a football player or a basketball player. Like, you got to look at politicians that are running for your district and see what they really are about, and see who's supporting them. Where's their campaign money coming from? You know, what do they benefit? You know, how much control does, you know, Matter as a Concrete have over, you know what I mean, who at whatever political party they're putting money into? Like those are the kind of things you got to really look into, and that's just reality of it. You know, I think it sucks that the voting process is so complicated. It shouldn't be that complicated. It should not at all. But it's made.
No, they definitely made the voting times fit people with not regular schedules, you know, and it's the weirdest fucking thing, man. It's like they want old people to vote, and they don't want people who are working and trying to make a living to vote. And I think that's the most fucked up part about it. And that's why I think we should have a different system for voting, like an online system. I don't even think mail-in should be necessary. You can encrypt this shit. I don't know. Figure this shit out. We could fucking figure this out. They're doing like
Somebody already has.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Out there.
Yeah, someone owns the copyright and the trademark on that, and it will never hit the street. So,
They're fucking burying that shit.
yeah.
But I think that's one thing. That's one hiccup in the fucking system that it sucks. It really does.
That's depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, when you're talking about trying to upgrade the voting process, like why not just entirely upgrade the entire representation process? Like, yeah, we're all like scared because we know there are people that are going to vote for Biden. We know there are people that are going to vote for Trump. Let them use their vote for that, and everybody else can actually that has something to say can say it.
Yeah.
And then because there's probably like 10 major philosophies about like how the world should be run. And if we're able to all have our voice, we'll be able to find those thought leaders a lot easier. And then they can collectively make the decisions that will help all of us rather than, you know, Trump and Biden pretty much working for the same team.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so many places that you can get involved with anything that you care about. Like really look at your feelings, and if you're upset about politics, that's an opportunity to look at yourself inside yourself and see, what do I care about? Why does this bother me so much? What is the root thing? Because most of the time it's, oh, I feel this is injustice is happening. Once you know that, then you can jump in and start directly fighting that injustice rather than being caught up in all the other distracting stuff.
Yeah.
I've just always been disenchanted with the fact that you need 270 electoral votes for a candidate to win. I was like, what? But as far as I heard this quote that says, never pay attention to the figurehead on the in power. It's always the forces that surround power that are the real power. And like Heaven alluded to, we need to know and study who these Supreme Court justices are. You need to know your congressmen. You need to figure out the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense and sort of what they have planned for the nation as well on a national level. But we also have to pay attention to geopolitics as a whole, because a lot of our country doesn't run without imports exports. Correct? They shut down Africa. You know, Africa for some reason says we're not giving you anything. The whole country stops. You know what I'm saying? Mexico says we're not giving you anything. The whole country stops. I think we just need to be abreast to these things and realize that, you know, in your little bubble with your flag and your fake patriotism, it only affects that small square of your world in your mind. And in this age of like Dennis alluded to as well, this age of narcissism, you can just pick a group to feed that narcissism and that disinformation, and you could just be stuck on the same plane the whole time with voting. I'm honestly befuddled on how it's really affected anything, because my dad lived in Jim Crow, so you gotta understand he's been damn near from like before Kennedy to see Trump elected. So in that time, I'm still trying to figure out what has changed except for the faces in the seats and the money that is increased in politics. Nothing has changed. It is just a new reality show with different characters.
Hey, George Bush gave me $300 though.
Right. That's a fact. So for me, I had little to no faith in the voting process, especially when I see when at the same time we're talking about Tamir Rice, and then Obama signs the Police Protection Act, and it not saying that it unnerved me because it did. Exactly. It just was like, all right, well, maybe I made a decision in not voting for somebody strictly off the color of their skin, but on the content of their character.
Right.
And what I every time I go up to the polls and vote for somebody, it'll have to be strictly off their values and their principles, not off of, oh, we're gonna vote for one person to the detriment of the next party.
Yeah.
And that I think we really have to discuss and talk about, like, why are you policing my vote, and why are you worried if I don't vote
Yeah.
when you're not involved in local politics and you don't volunteer? Like, you go to the supermarket and go home, and yet you're going to describe to me a person who, is around New York City and aware of his surroundings and involved in certain activities in his community. You're going to tell me that your one vote is going to discredit, if I don't use my vote, it's going to discredit
Everything
every
you've done.
action that I've done in the community. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me your one vote validates everything you didn't do.
Exactly. Oh,
They
because
put the-
I voted. Like,
They
You
put
gotta
the
stick
emphasis on the action and not the outcome.
Yeah.
yeah.
At the end of the day.
Tribalism.
Yeah.
Yo, I want
Action,
to. Go ahead.
the postable action, like the hey, I got this sticker. Look at me, I did something.
Yeah, that just drives me insane.
I fed the homeless dude. How many likes can I get? Like, missing the point, apparently.
Yeah.
What was you saying, Dennis?
Yeah, I wanted to bring one thing that what was his name, Justin? That dude we were talking about that had that speech after George Floyd. I forgot. You knew his name.
The dude that had the
Claude
speech.
Anderson? Was that him? Or-
Yeah, the bald head glasses guy.
Yeah, right. Powernomics, correct.
Yeah. So he also started off that thing with part of how we get to the room is through economics, and
Yes.
I personally believe strongly in that aspect of it, and there's a little uncomfort there because it's so race centric, right? It's so
Mhm.
like physical skin color, but I think there is a lot to be said about the power of the black dollar, supporting black businesses. There's legitimate black businesses that deserve to be supported.
Mhm.
Investing in black banks. That financial. One thing I will say about America is I do think it does care about the dollar more than even race. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
there's a great way to. There's a great. I was right on board with him when he was talking about the effort it would take for black people to literally withdraw their money as a whole out of the white ecosystem and create an eternal black ecosystem of finance, just like many other cultures have done. You look at there's Chinatowns and many cities. Jewish people are really good at being at group economics. There's so following those things a lot, and all of those races are successful in America because of that foundation. So I think there's a lot to be said about that, and I think that's something that anybody can do by starting a business or supporting a business or finding somebody who's doing something with it around you that is in line with that. You know what I mean?
Do you think that has something to do with these groups that you refer to? Individually, they all have quote unquote nations that will support them. You know what I'm saying? And African Americans in the United States of America really don't identify with a specific nation. You know what I mean? And I think that is a part of the problem why they just don't have no problem with killing them. I mean, who's going to go to bat for them?
Yeah, I mean that's real though. That cultural identity for Black Americans is real as fuck, and I don't know if I have an answer for that outside of allowing Black Americans to discover it on their own without trying to steal it or without trying to influence it. You know what I mean?
But I also have a deeper thought that was intentional.
Yeah, most definitely.
100%. You know what I mean? That was intended to strip you of your background. You're not from Kenya. You're not from the Congo. You're from Africa as a whole. Like, we just took you. You're nothing. You know what I mean? That was 100% intended.
Yeah. I
Who do
agree.
you align with then?
Yeah.
Nobody. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You lost souls. Like,
I don't know if anybody has well, I have the book here called Light Skin White Man. I don't know if anybody's ever
No,
read it. It's Fanon, and you know what the boy said. If you ever read The Souls of Black Folks, and he always said he stated that the problem of the 20th century would be the color line, and now you look at the problem of the 21st century is still the color line. My question to everybody here is what would be if you had a solution to completely abolish racism, if you feel like you had one remedy to abolish it and strive for a true like egalitarian society, how would you do it, and how successful do you think you'd be?
true. That's bro. That's crazy because it's like, aside from understanding that everybody's your brother and your sister, we're all one race, you know, one unified race. If people don't believe that and they see the division, I don't think it's still going to be ingrained in certain people. Some people I've talked to, and like I used to drive cab, and it was interesting just to hear how people spoke. I had to check it a lot of times because it's like these dudes are just talking way out. Like, I don't know, this
and
shit's
they
crazy to
believe
me.
it.
And they believe it, and then they have kids, and they teach the kids that. And then how do you unteach something like that?
Yeah, how do you unlearn that?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Is it realistic?
I
Is it a
think so.
realistic expectation?
I think
I
since the
hope.
dawn of time, people have been fighting over menial matters like skin
Yeah.
color. Since the dawn of time, and it's ingrained, I think, in a lot of our roots. You know what I mean? And everyone has implicit bias. You might not be racist, but everyone has some sort of implicit bias.
Mhm.
And I think overcoming that alone would be a much more reasonable understanding. Not every cop is going to shoot you. Not every black dude's a thug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not a Trump supporter just by the way I look, or I have a jump shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
He said that on a jump shot.
realistically, though, you know what I mean? It's like
No, it's
realistically.
I used to work
tribalism.
for a program called Anytown here in Tampa, and that was like one of the first programs that helped me get past my criminal record by giving me a lot of
Right.
work to be able to like have
Okay.
experience. And they're anti-discrimination program, and they did something that I thought was really powerful and really real. Now, is it realistic to do this on a societal level without some fascist dictatorship?
Yeah.
Making it happen, I don't know, but they personally invited kids of all different identities. So literally religion, class, race, gender, sexuality.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they invited them all to this camp for a week, and they teach them all about the isms, right? All the isms,
Yeah.
top to bottom, racism, sexism, blah, blah, blah. And what ends up happening, and they have these things called dialogue group. And it is a little emotional. It's very emotional, and it's very kind of like intentionally triggering a little
Like,
bit.
is it like a group therapy or something like that?
Yeah, it's not therapy. It's like a camp.
Right.
But now I have my issues with it. I'm not going to get into details with it, but I do see the good in it. And the good is that when people share their stories, their personal cultural stories, like this is what it's like to be black, this is what it's like to be Muslim, this is what it's like to be trans,
Right.
this is what it's like, and it's when it's in a space where people are made to listen, right? And then somebody else share, well, this is my experience with blah 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 blah. Matter of fact, Malcolm X said it way simpler than I'm about to say. If you know what I mean, it'll end when you can get this person in the room and this person in the room,
Right.
say honest feelings, the black person and the white man, honestly, and nobody gets mad or tries to fight each other. But I found what they call the cross-cultural interaction and dialogue is the number one thing to end kind of racism. Because even if we end racism, it's still going to be religious issues. There's still going to be patriotism. There's still going to be something to divide. So it has to be on all humans, like Angelo mentioned, on all humanity front. And it has to be something forced. Like somebody got to force everybody in the room. You know what I mean? And so we can feel and experience
never that way. Never. Just because when you're projecting much hate on someone, especially like blindly on a group like that, that is a clear sign that that person has like severe trauma that they have never addressed.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, they have something within themselves. It's not really anything outside. It's always an individual problem.
Mm.
I agree with that for sure.
Well, I just wanted to know. Okay, so let's say we had the candidates that we essentially wanted. We looked over their policies, and we were on their campaign trails with them, and we've been to all their town hall meetings and everything else. Paramount to your life, not necessarily to maybe the black struggle or to the capitalists in the room, but to your individual piece, I would say, what would be something that you would demand from the candidate that you chose?
We could just go around the room and answer it all individually.
All
Right.
right.
So just one thing?
It could be one thing. It could be a list of things.
Dude, it's so much. They definitely need to reform the. It's just business, man. They need to get a lot of business out of this shit, like prison systems. They need to get business out of politics. You just need to separate it, like church and state. Separate business and state. You don't need to be making fucking crazy money. People shouldn't be able to line your pockets to get shit passed and regulations laxed just so they could fucking keep more money in their pockets and not distribute
Pardon me.
what they have. They don't pay taxes. Why don't they enforce this stuff? That's the stuff I think is like just the business aspect. There's so much money that's just being hoarded at the top, and they shit on these social programs, but they have it. They just don't want to take it because they're scared of Amazon leaving America,
Yeah.
Apple leaving America. You don't want them to leave. You want them to stay right here because so we just break their taxes and it doesn't go anywhere. The money just stays where it's at.
But I think with any economic system, you're going to have gross perversions of that. So, like with capitalism nowadays, we have the maximized profit era where everything is about shitting on everyone under me, regardless of whose throat can I step on to get to where I want to be, no matter what. You know what I mean? I don't care who it affects. You know what I mean? And it's like I consider myself a capitalist. You know, take something from nothing and grow it to whatever. But you know, pay for your employees' benefits. Make sure that they're straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to rise their pay when cost of living increases. You know, it's like those are all quality of life things that can change. But it's like this maximized profit. I just wonder, like, how much money do these people actually need?
Yeah.
Actually need. Jeff
There's people-
Bezos
there's-
worth $200 billion. How much money do you need? There are countries without $200 billion economies.
There's people starving and homeless.
Right.
And it's just
Just
Yeah.
hoarding.
yeah.
Right.
Outside of an empty house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Exactly.
crazy.
It's got the house and you can't get in it.
I mean, look at the
For sale.
fucking mega churches all around the country and
Sure.
shit. Like, it's just like, come on.
Joel Osteen with his door closed when the Houston flood happened.
Yeah,
But
it's just like, man.
if it was all white parishioners, though, I bet it wouldn't be closed. You know what I mean? That's my problem too.
My biggest issue is, especially because I have kids, so my biggest issue is the education system right now. Like what's going on with the education system, and it's just like every state different. It's just sickening to me because you could kind of see the end game of it and you can see where it's heading, but you're like helpless in a sense. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing that you can do individually to stop it, and that shit's frustrating to me.
Honestly, it's kind of exposure therapy to me when you think about it. Exposing kids to other ideas, and it's okay not to believe everything that you hear in school. Like I learned more about black economics and black struggles sitting in Justin's basement after high school than I ever did sitting, in high school.
Yeah.
Ever.
Never
You know,
learned
and
high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't learn a damn thing in high school. I was always in night school.
I think it's just a
Yeah.
big. I think schooling is just a big. It's a big memory test. How much?
Yeah.
How much information can you
Yeah.
memorize?
You
And then we're gonna test you on it.
Yeah.
I don't really
And
think
then
it's
we're-
I
about
think
teaching.
it's valid up to a certain point. Like I think
Yeah.
like after sixth grade, you don't really, at that point it becomes agenda driven school.
Yeah.
It's not like
Mm-mm.
I think
But-
Before then,
kids should have a choice
To-
at least for to branch off. Once you get
I-
to basic math, science,
To rebuttal that, I feel like up until sixth grade is the most important stages. So
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's where they need to. I think that's where they need to restructure the syllabus. They need to restructure all of that shit because that's where you need to teach kids. Because once you get indoctrinated to that point, I feel like it's hard to go back on
It
what
is.
you learned.
they call
I
it
feel
the
like-
impressionable years.
Exactly. I feel like
Yeah.
when they're in that sponge stage,
Right.
I think that's the most important parts. And we're afraid to tell kids that young because they're not ready. The truth.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exposure therapy. Even
Yeah.
you look at sex ed and how many problems that
Right.
causes. You know what I mean?
facts. That's what
You were exposed to that before puberty. How much of this shit would be eradicated by now, or even lessened? You know what I mean? And who's to say that? You
sex
know,
in this country is stupid.
right? You know,
Stupid.
it's become politicized.
It's
Yeah.
becoming dangerous trying to
It's-
involve pedophilia classifications to sexual
True.
like that. It's getting to the point where it looks like a fucking episode of Twilight Zone anymore. And it's just
Yeah.
like, are we
Yeah.
really doing this right now? Are we really
Yeah.
doing this?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
I don't know about some of these conspiracy theories sometimes, but I don't have any proof, but I do think sometimes the top it's all the same thing. Like I think Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, freaking George Bush, and Obama are all back there talking shit. Like, oh,
Yeah.
wait till we hit them with this. Ah.
Yeah,
And to your point, I don't want to
Hey, Trump, you ready to do your part? Yeah, you already know.
I don't want to go into detail like so crazily, but I seen a thing online, and I have a daughter. She's about to turn 8, and she's very into LOL dolls or what have
Yeah.
you. And I
Yeah.
seen
that's
a
crazy,
post
that's
about this, right? So I've been going down rabbit holes a little bit more lately than ever. So it was like 2:00. I just got off of work, so I'm like, I seen a post on Instagram, and I'm like, I'm gonna go. So I went in her room, grabbed her little box where her all LOL dolls are at, and you know what I'm saying, made some cold water, put a bucket of cold water, put some ice in it, and what have you. And I'm dumped one in, and I'm like, nothing happened, right? Dumped another one in, nothing happened. So I'm like, all right, this is stupid. So I kept on going further. So I got to about the 4th doll, right? And this is what Dennis was just saying. I dumped it in. God is my witness. There was a slice of pizza on the doll's back. And I was right there. It all clicked to me. It clicked to me. I almost started tearing up because I'm just thinking like, this is real. Like
I
this
didn't
is
even hear about that.
this is
That's
a real
crazy.
thing that's going on right now. Like, and then I kept on going, and then another doll that I put in the water, it had like fishnet stockings on the legs, and then like a weird bikini onto it. So it's just like people may dismiss the conspiracy theories and all that, but what would that have what would be the purpose of that? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm very skeptical of it anymore. Like,
shit.
I mean, some of the
That's
Epstein stuff is damning evidence out there with Epstein. Anyway, go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
And honestly, it was all out there like a decade ago. It was very obvious. If you like start to understand anything about symbology, like pretty much every single music video and it's everywhere. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And maybe I just saw it so early because I had a really fucked up childhood, but it's definitely it's always been going on.
yeah.
It's crazy.
And
But
it's
again,
like
I have no proof of any of this. So,
common,
Yeah.
too common.
that I feel or see,
I mean, you can't help but to see it. Like the
Right.
symbolism is all around. Like wherever you look, there's symbolism for, and you're never gonna have proof, quote unquote, proof of it until you know what I'm saying. You're gonna actually catch something in the action. You know what I'm saying, or sex trafficking in the action. But look at what happened. I forget where it was at, where they just recovered them 39
It was
children
in Georgia, I believe.
in Georgia. Yeah. So it's like it's evident that it is happening, and nobody's really saying nothing about it.
Yeah.
That's the alarming part.
And that's the alarming part. Because you see this dude, Joe Biden, sniffing hair,
Oh,
grabbing
man.
up on these kids, bro, and he's about to be a president. No one's bringing this shit up.
And and sex trafficking goes up when both the RNC and the DNC is in a city.
That is wild.
No matter what political
Act.
if it's a political event, sex trafficking goes up dramatically.
I mean, look what happened with the whole Wayfair situation. Like, people who may dismiss it all they want,
Joke
and then,
about it. Yeah.
and then a Wayfair comes out and puts out a statement like, "Oh no," and they obviously denied it. And I'm just like, people eat it up like, "Oh, see, they like, what do you think they're gonna say? Oh yeah, you caught me red-handed. You caught me. Like, come on."
It wasn't for these pesky kids.
Yeah, you go to every Walmart. When you check out at every single Walmart, you look at the bulletin board. Endless amount of missing children. No one bats an eye. And that shit is alarming. Like,
Talk about it, man.
I just when, and I don't know if people know me. I used to have braids, and
no, Jay, we don't know you.
I know you've probably never seen me with these weird ass looking braids, and I just look crazy. So I take, it's like 2012, right? I take a trip going down this rabbit hole to I end up in Chantilly, Virginia, and it's the 2012 Bilderberg meeting, right?
Oh, God.
And yeah, exactly, right? I end up there.
Speak on it.
And I didn't expect. I'm like, all right, well, maybe something will get debunked. I see Alex Jones. I see Jim Mars. I see Mark Dice. I meet a whole bunch of different people who I still communicate with till this day, right? Very good friends of mine, brothers and sisters. I see Henry Kissinger in his fucking in his limo, knocking on his window, trying to talk to him. And what I did realize was that they were talking about, at that point, this is 2012, they were talking about they've been trafficking kids to Bohemian and everything like that. And not saying I was incredulous to it, I was just that's kind of crazy. Then you fast forward to today, and then me having prior knowledge to it. Now I'm just so the truth is stranger than fiction at this point. Go ahead, Dennis.
No, I just got triggered. I got ADHD. That's why I be having outbursts.
It's all good.
I saw a quote the other day. It's super dope. It said, "Most people's imagination isn't enough for reality."
Yeah, that's
right.
Wow. That's deep. I might have to put that on a shirt.
Word. Put that on some merch.
I'm gonna put that on a shirt. Watch.
Yeah.
I just shout out, man. I'm glad y'all are running this podcast, man. I'll be listening to it. As many episodes I can. So I appreciate y'all having us for one. And just I love the concept, and I think y'all executed very well, man. Y'all don't try to over talk people's heads off, or what I mean, nothing like that. Just real talk from real perspective, man. So I just want to shout y'all out.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Diggity, no doubt.
We plan on having these type of discussions, as much as possible, really. I mean, this is really what it's about, really. The platform this is the Predators, why we originally called it, Smoking Reggie's. It has nothing to do with marijuana. It has nothing to do with smoking and shit. It's just the regular.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Not really not. and not, it's really not even, because it's it's because it's from that perspective of everybody talks about loud, and it's always an expert opinion, loud.
Yeah,
what I'm saying? The Reggie weed, nobody really, talks about regular weed, and nobody really talks about the regular person's opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this was just a platform on just regular, no experts, no fucking judgment being passed, and just everybody get their voice out.
I think that's one of the most important things, though, is having dialogue with people who might not agree with you. To an extent, we're all rational, logical people. Even if I don't agree with everything, say, Heaven is saying, I can find bits and pieces of that, saying, all right, I can understand where she's coming from with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so much polarity. It's either you're pro this or anti that. and what's lost is the common ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that
Everything in the
tribalism.
middle.
That's
Yeah,
it. There is
tribalism.
no middle anymore. That's it.
Yeah.
That's real as hell. Just like no middle class.
Yeah.
Basically.
That'll be dead with either president. So
I
doesn't matter.
I was
anybody-
thinking about the symbolism of the title of this podcast, like the red and blue pill, and both are going to kill you. So,
Yeah.
you know?
They're both
Yeah.
poison.
Right.
If anybody
I
has
didn't
any,
even think of that.
what?
'Cause of-
Go ahead.
No, that was it. It just hit me that the red pill, blue pill, that's the election. The red Patriots or the Republicans and the. Right.
Yeah, that's what me and Justin was talking about. That's why we wanted to name the discussion that, basically, because it kind of ties in. And with the, you know what I'm saying, I had to watch The Matrix over again a couple nights ago, and it just basically ties in what's going on. Like, you got so much people that really don't want to see shit for what it is. You know what I'm saying? And they just blind themselves with
That
believing.
willful ignorance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I feel like these discussions are important, especially between people that, like Steve said, we might not all agree on everything, but to come to a common ground and just show, and especially to show younger kids that may watch this, like, look, we don't have to have an ass kissing competition, and we can still talk to shit and be civilized and cordial about shit.
Right.
I think that's
Right.
key, because that's what's lost. Like, it's either I'm on this side and you're on this side. It's like, oh no, you're wrong, I'm right. Yeah, it's like, that shit is toxic. That's toxic.
Right.
Mm.
Definitely.
And it just perpetuates everything. I think I love what you guys have been doing, man. I'm a big fan, man.
I love you too, Angela.
Yeah, I love you, man.
Free love, man. Free love.
This was
No.
awesome. This was awesome. Anybody got any last words, any messages, anything you guys want to plug? You guys working on anything? Feel free.
My Twitch stream. We ain't plugging that, though.
Go ahead, for real.
What's your Twitch stream?
Nah, we're good, bro. Don't worry about it. It's more of a hobby than a passion. I'm just messing with
I'll
y'all.
take the shameless plug, man. I do poetry and spoken word, and I got a lot of videos up. Just look me up, Dennis Amadeus, Amadeus. That's everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, not Twitter. I've been staying away from Twitter, but
Stay away from TikTok, too.
I just heard it. I was thinking about getting into it, and I just see other people dealing with it. I'm like,
Yeah.
My daughter wants me
cool.
to make a TikTok so bad.
It's
But
all data mining, man. I'm telling you.
Hey, TikTok's where it's at, though. You get a lot of publicity right now for free.
Oh,
'cause
for
it's not
sure.
a big platform yet. Well, they
For
get
sure.
there. But anyway, that's marketing stuff. Don't listen.
Common with the impressionable population. Like Marcus's daughter, she's coming in that impressionable age.
yeah,
I'm sure she sees some wild shit on TikTok
Yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
and you're like, "Yo,
yeah,
no more of this," right?
yeah. I be limited.
So-
Like, I try to limit it as much as possible, and
Right.
it's just always it's an everyday battle, really.
Yeah.
Easily. Yeah.
I didn't think about it with a kid. That's true. Good point.
Well, this has been dope, guys. We appreciate you. Me and Justin appreciate you.
Oh, wait, I gotta
Appreciate
plug
y'all
something.
support.
Gotta plug something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my man.
I do nude self-portraits on OnlyFans.
Ah!
So just check me out.
Let's go, Bellator.
I can't draw for shit.
For the capture, robotic even
But I
when you
got
know
it.
the answers. Sad sight, you think you read it right, cause you read it right. You're funny guys, y'all getting pranked on the dank. Mad that they sold you veggies. I'm a meat and potato guy to all the veggies. I know that diet deadly, weighing on me heavy. So I take a break, Jones on the phone like a needle to the vein, screening all the smaller things like society about me and me. You think it's funny cause your life is a meme. It's never what it seems. It can be real or fake or in between. You must be sick in the head, chasing vowel dreams. Society about me and me. You think it's funny cause your life is a meme. It never what it seems. It can be real or fake or in between. You must be sick in the head, chasing vowel dreams. Told my C too much tab, your word indent. Don't be the type, just the type. Turn